episode like this since Lyndon Johnson in 1968.
You saw this coming?
Everyone saw this coming.
You know, when we talk about our children, I know for this group, we all believe that when we talk about the children of the community, they are the children of the community. We all watched the television coverage of just yesterday. That's on top of everything else that we know and don't know yet, based on what we've just been able to see. And because we've seen it or not doesn't mean it hasn't happened. But just limited to what we have seen. And we were all doing a tour of the library here and talking about the significance of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time in terms of what we need to do to lay these wires, what we need to do to create these jobs. And there is such great significance to the passage of time when we think about a day in the life of our children.
The United States willing to make a specific allocation for Ukrainian refugees. And for President Duda, I wanted to know if you think, and if you asked the United States to specifically accept more refugees.
Okay. A friend in need is a friend indeed.
Okay, so this time.
Which brings me to May 30th, 2020. Bob and Doug returned to the Kennedy Space Center. They suited up, they waved to their families, and they rode an elevator up nearly 20 stories. They strapped in to their seats and waited as the tanks beneath them filled with tens of thousands of gallons of fuel. And then they launched. Yeah. They did.
Back, did Democrats fail, past Democratic presidents, congressional leaders, to not codify Roe v. Wade over the past 5 decades?
I think that, to be very honest with you, I do believe that we should have rightly believed, but we certainly believe that certain issues are just settled. Certain issues are just settled.
Clearly we're not.
No, that's right, and that's why I do believe that we are living, sadly, in real unsettled times. So during Women's History Month, we celebrate and we honor the women who made history throughout history, who saw what could be unburdened by what had been. We see the suffragists, the riveters, the marchers, the mothers and sisters and aunts and grandmothers and daughters, all the giants upon whose broad shoulders we stand. For generations, women have continued to make incredible progress in the classroom, in the workplace, in the halls of government. And we are all here, evidence of that progress. The point about progress is to have the ability to have a vision and a belief and some faith in what can be, unburdened by what has been. I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been. You know? What can be, unburdened by what has been. What can be, unburdened by what has been. What can be, unburdened by what has been. What can be, unburdened by what has been.
Honestly, I think I'm burdened by what's to come. But I guess technically I'm unburdened by what has been. Let's get into it.
Doesn't anyone notice this? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
I don't want you to ride. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the streets. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad.
Has the whole world gone crazy? Am I the only one around here who gives a shit about the rule?
You have the luxury of not knowing what I know.
I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore!
Welcome aboard, everybody. So we got breaking news. So here I am. Biden has dropped out of the race. Initially did not. So for those that are following me on Twitter, I caught on to this right when it happened, and I tweeted about it. But I tweeted that he was not endorsing Kamala, and he didn't in the initial statement. But apparently went back to his little room there and got slapped around, and and was told, "Hey, you forgot to endorse Kamala." And so he eventually did. Sorry about that, folks. But you know, it is what it is, but they're gone. So with respect to the chat, folks, I know last time I was having some technical difficulty with the chat. I still am having some difficulty with respect to actually featuring it, although I may have discovered exactly what it might be. So I'm going to try and fix that while I talk to you, but I can see it. So from that perspective, I can see it. So and that's from, I can see everybody but Twitter right now. So Twitter, unfortunately, I know that's the channel I'm trying to grow desperately, but it's slow going over there, but it is growing. We're around 270 right now, and growing. So don't forget to go over there and give me a holler. But that being said, what I have going on right now, and give me 1 second, folks. What I have going on right now on Twitter, I had posted that Kamala had not been endorsed, but then later they slapped him around, said he did endorse her, and he did, in fact, come out with a statement saying that he was endorsing her. So that is a fact. Now the question is, you know, where does that leave us? And you know, we'll get into, all of us saw this coming, right? So I don't think anybody is shocked here. And I don't know what just happened here. Oh, I know. Give me a second. You see that thing on the screen? That's me trying to figure out how to get the feature chat dropped back in. So if I'm successful, we're in business. If I'm not, we're not in business. And I'll just have to read your chats and comment to them as I go. And let's see. Yep, there we go. We got them. So I can post your chats up. I can do that for Facebook, Rumble, and YouTube. Not that anyone ever watches on YouTube, but here we are. So we're stuck with looking at who's going to run, because just because he endorsed Kamala doesn't technically mean that Kamala is going to be the one to run, right? However, so with respect to Kamala running or not, I say yes. I know some people still think it's going to be Hillary or it's going to be Gavin Newsom, both of which, well, Hillary, I think, is out of the equation, but Gavin Newsom, I think, is still in the equation. But in the end, the fact that Biden forgot to put the Kamala endorsement in his statement and came immediately back and did it tells me that it's going to be Kamala. Why? Because here's the visual that I got, and you can tell me if you agree with me. And Kathy, I agree. If she just never spoke again, we'd be better off, right? Kathy over at Facebook. Thanks for your comment. But in the end, if for him to come back and endorse her like that tells me that he went back there, you know, they made the statement, and then his handlers were like, where the hell was the Kamala endorsement? Like, that decision had been made, and he dropped the ball again. Although there should have been, and this is just more DEI hire stuff, right? Where just constant lapses and screw ups on details and things like that, where they got to backtrack and go back in and redo and whatever. Like, this is what happens when you just don't, you know, there were probably a couple of freaking dudes that they picked out of somewhere, you know, because they fit some qualifications. Maybe they were transgender or, you know, whatever the quota was at that time, right? And the guys were totally unqualified. And now they're writing statements and nobody double checked them. Or the guys that are supposed to double check them might have been the ones that, that they had put it out. But the fact that they heard the statement, immediately sent him back to clarify that he's endorsing Kamala, tells me that it's going to be Kamala. Now, this will be the second time in some 3 years, right? Or it's no, not 3 years, three election cycles that the Democrats have basically just taken the vote away from their base. I mean, I don't even know. Look, it's there's nothing in the Constitution about a political party. So the parties can run however they want to run, and of course, no one is obligated to vote for the person that they put in office. Everybody's just so used to voting by party lines that we think that they don't have the right to do this, but they do. And you have the right to walk away and be like, I'm not dealing with you as a party anymore because my vote doesn't matter. Like the Republicans, the establishment Republicans never liked Trump. They never liked him. Okay. We all know this, but they never took him off the ballot. Like the fact that the people voted for them, they allowed that to continue. And the fact that, you know, for the Democrats, it just doesn't seem to work that way is a little bit ridiculous to me. Right. And here we've got Mike Arnold. How are you, sir? I heard Joe Biden was here in Massachusetts this past week talking to Deval Patrick, former Massachusetts governor, about possible VP slot. Yeah, I heard the Pennsylvania governor, but they're probably throwing a lot of people in the hat right now. I think it just depends who you listen to. And in the end, I don't think it matters, right? I don't think it matters. Like in the end, when you look at, you know, what they're up against, to me, I think I'll be honest, I think the decision for Kamala is like they want to save Gavin Newsom for the future. They want to save, you know, any candidate that they think is serious. They don't want to send them out to be, you know, the slaughtered lamb. I honestly believe that because in the end, yeah, deep state is still panicking, but they know what they're up against right now. Trump is beyond a symbol right now, and there are millions of people who might have been on the fence prior, right? The people who were just in the tank and just like those, they are what they are. But all those people that everybody's been still trying to win over, those people, when they saw the assassination attempt, there had to be a light that went that lit, right? Like, oh my God, right? Because they've probably got friends, because they're not living in an echo chamber. They probably have friends who have been saying, like, you know, the only thing left to do to this man is try and kill him. And that's what Tucker had said a while ago. And that's what's been, you know, that's what's been the general feeling for those that see, right? And that's why I made this T-shirt, which you can purchase, by the way. The link is at patriotthinktank.com to the Etsy store. Underneath of the BlackRock and hashtag, you know, save our children, all the stuff that people deny is a reality and is a reality, right? So there's the Great Reset, right? Marxism, all of these things that people say are not a reality and are. You know, once you see those things and you see it for what it is, and you understand how long this war has been going on against us and how long we have not even tried to fight in it because we couldn't even agree that it was happening, you know, the assassination attempt, I think, was stealing an election, right? So for those that believe the 2020 election was stolen, in my humble opinion, it absolutely was tons of shenanigans going on in that election. I have a very hard time believing 80 million people got together to vote for a man who's cognitively not there, right? But that was like, if that fails, or even with that succeeding, they've tried to smear him. They've called him racist. They've tried the sex scandal. They've tried everything they've tried. His points go up, right down to the point where they start charging him with all this bizarre stuff and you know, taking misdemeanors and turning him into felonies because the statute of limitations had run out, and then getting him convicted on it, even though it's probably going to get won on appeal. The point is they get to run around saying he's a felon and all of these different things, and his numbers just keep going up and up and up, and there was really nothing left for them to do but to try and kill him. And the fact that you know, we're going to continue with the narrative that it was some, you know, some kid who was turned off by activated by political rhetoric is which is what Fox News is trying to sell. Like, oh, it's all that Biden rhetoric. And the bullseye, like nobody believes when Biden made that bullseye comment, that no one believes that that was meaning, or any even a hidden meaning to say that he was considering the assassination of a former president. Like no one believes that. But they keep tackling these narratives as if we're just supposed to be enraged by it. And it's like, no, I'm enraged that this is going on, but I'm not enraged that there was political, discourse that was rough. That's nonsense. Oh, they called him Hitler. They called him this and that. They call everybody Hitler. And so does the right calls. Everybody calls everybody Hitler. It's like it's exhausting at this point. Forget, oh, now it triggered, some kid to like whatever the theory goes on, and the theories are still building because more and more footage is coming out from cell phone cameras. We now have this mysterious figure on the water tower, and we're trying to figure out, because that was really grainy footage, but understandably, no one was probably shooting video at the water tower. But I'm hoping that we get something where someone was closer and just inadvertently covered the water tower, so we can get a look at exactly what that figure was, because it sure as hell looks like a person. And when the shots rang off, it sure as hell was moving. So, people want to say it's digital blur and all this, but I'm like, there's more than that going on in that video. Like there's something up there. And I want to know what it was, right? But in the end, it's insulting to think it wasn't a deep state hit to me. Like, and yeah, it's my opinion for all the YouTube Nazis and everybody else out there. See, now I did it too, Nazis, right? So for all the YouTube moderators and everyone else, this is all my opinion. But the fact of the matter is, you can't look at this scenario like nobody was shocked. Nobody who sees was shocked that an attempt was made on the president's life. Nobody who sees was shocked that President Biden dropped out. Like these are just these events when I watch them getting reported and they keep saying, oh, it's it's such a shock, this breaking news, I can't believe it. We've never seen anything. Like, how do you not know? Like I lost money because I thought he was going to be out in his first year. How did you not know after that debate and listening to the reaction, right? And all of a sudden, the media channels, the state-controlled channels, as I call them, right? The MSNBCs and CNNs and whatnot, they all start automatically bashing Biden after that debate. And not just bashing him, but there were nuances that were to be noticed, like the fact that they were suddenly allowed to say illegal alien again, or illegal migrant, however they were wording it, but they were allowed to call them illegals again. And even went so far as to say, thanks to Biden's policy, under Biden's immigration policy. Like, how did that like, this whole thing is scripted. It's just scripted, and it's obvious. Like, and this is the difference in how we should see. This is the difference in what we should be looking at when we see these events unfold. There is nothing shocking about anything that is going on. Now it's crazy. Yeah, it's disturbing to see an assassination attempt on a former president who's now the leading candidate for the next president. Of course, that's disturbing, but it's not shocking. It's like if you were shocked by it, and I don't think anybody who follows this channel was shocked by it, because we've been talking about this kind of stuff forever. I mean, the bottom line with it all is that we knew Biden was going to drop out. Now he did. Even Obama was stepping up saying, look, you need to get out of here. Like everybody was telling this man, you got to drop out. And once again, 15 million Democrat voters get shafted, right? So this happened with Bernie Sanders. They were voting for Bernie en masse because Hillary was a horrific candidate. There was no way Hillary Clinton was we would have had to put up the worst candidate on earth for Hillary Clinton. Like, for those that just got on this movement when Trump came around, like, I'll let you know, this movement far predates Trump. And the fact of the matter, yeah, Trump got all the new people that didn't vote in the past and things like that. Absolutely. Has he been huge? Absolutely. But he's not the beginning of the movement to not vote for rhinos goes way beyond him. I mean, Mitt Romney lost because people just stayed home. People were just so sick of the candidates. You know, McCain, same thing. Just so sick of the establishment candidate winning to the point where the Tea Party came through and ended up having a ton of success. Yes, those politicians who went in and we thought were good people got eaten by the machine like everybody else. So be it. But at least a movement was there to get out the exit. That movement wasn't about getting rid of Democrats. That movement was about replacing Republicans. And it was successful. And they went into the primaries, and one after the other were able to remove Republican rhinos out of primaries. Why? Because once whoever's on that ticket is an R, because there's plenty of sheep in the Republican Party too, whoever was on that ticket as an R, everyone knew they were going to click that R no matter who was on the damn ticket. So the idea was, well, why not put some good, wholesome people on that ticket instead of the same rhinos who keep getting reelected every year? And they really shook things up. But unfortunately, and according to Meckler, who was leading that movement and now leads the Convention of States movement, you know, once those folks got in there, it was a matter of months before they were unrecognizable. And and this is what we're trying to change with Convention of States, right? Is to start fixing that problem, change that culture. And hopefully, you know, hopefully we get some good news before year end, you know, regarding states starting to make moves. I know there's a lot of stuff going on simultaneously. I know they're out there doing a lot of things, but we'll see what happens. But when it comes to Biden, I mean, for the love of God, who thought this man was going to continue to run? And, you know, I took a clip from Vivek Ramaswamy. He tweeted something out that, you know, and I remember multiple instances hearing him say he outlined some of them, and I took the clip because of all people, and I said this even during the campaign, that while I was not going to vote for Ramaswamy, when it comes to who actually understands, who actually speaks as if they understand the problems that are out there today, I remember highlighting him about Ukraine, that he was the only one of all the candidates that actually said what the actual cause for the Ukraine war is, and that it was Russia not wanting NATO in Ukraine. Not wanting Ukraine to be a NATO member. He's the only one that said that. And there's a laundry list of things that he said. But in light of what is happening now, here's some of what he said. If I can just find his clip real quick. Here we go.
There's a myth that President Biden's running for president. I think they just put a brain-dead, hollowed-out husk of a human being in the White House because that's more convenient for them. The risk is a thinking person could change their mind. They don't want somebody who could change their mind. They want Joe Biden.
Mark my words. Joe Biden will not be the nominee for the Democratic Party.
We know he's not even the president of the United States. He's a puppet for the managerial class. Step up and be honest about who you're actually going to put up so we can have an honest debate. Biden should step aside so we can see whether it's Newsom or Michelle Obama or whoever else. All right, just tell us the truth so we can have an honest debate.
The president is healthy and vigorous, fit enough to perform his presidential duties.
Fit for duty.
Fit for duty. Fit to successfully execute the duties of the presidency.
Excuse me, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
and it really was just, you know, just the perfect compilation of I'm right, you're wrong for Vivek to post. And I'm glad that he did those clips because it saves me time. And in the end, this is a guy who really, you know, for all intents and purposes, gets it. And I know there's been people criticizing him, and I don't want him to be the president. I'm not even saying anything like that. But what I am saying is that he got it right. And and he's not the only one, but he was the loudest one. And he was saying it over and over and over again. And he was trying to get that point across, and people wouldn't listen. And like everything about what he was trying to get across was right. And, you know, here we are pretending, you know, with the media, we pretend that this guy was, you know, that we just found out, right? That we just found out that Biden was unfit at the debate. I mean, all of this has been a staged game, every bit of it. And it's morally bankrupt for anyone to try and make the case, as the media does daily, all right? Including Fox News for I mean, yeah, they're pundits and stuff. Okay, fine. But aside from their pundits, I mean, their regular reporting has always been talking about Biden does this. I can't believe Biden did that. I'm like, what are you, what do you mean you can't believe? I don't understand. And I never understood. And of course, neither did you, right? Who am I kidding? Who am I talking to? I know you guys. You know, I get messages from you guys. I respond to comments. You know, I'm all over this kind of stuff. And we all knew this. But yet here we are. Here we are talking about breaking news that Biden, like history being made. Yeah, there may be some history being made here. That's potentially possible. But I mean, there is history being made in that sense that he's dropping out. It doesn't happen often. But look, you know, we're not up against whether if they pick Kamala, if they pick Gavin Newsom, whatever puppet they choose, just because they're conscious and they're not completely demented, doesn't mean they're not the same. The role won't be the same. Doesn't mean like they're going in there with their own vision and are somehow going to implement that vision, because they're not. They're going in there with handlers. And they're going, the next person they put up, like we're not up against a candidate. Like I hear people saying, well, against Kamala, he'll do better than against Gavin Newsom, or he'll do better. And I'm like, he's not up against Kamala or Gavin Newsom. He's up against the machine. We all are. There's no, whatever face they put on the machine to get this thing going, it doesn't matter. It's still the machine. It's like the CCP. Like Xi Jinping is just a cog in a wheel. Their leaders take over one after the other, and the party looks at those leaders as literally just that, as a cog in the wheel, a cog in the machine. And that's a cog that can be replaced with another cog, and the machine will still go. It's all about the party, you know, etc. Well, this is all about these globalists are running the Democrat Party show. They're running it. The people that are in your streets. I mean, you put Kamala in charge. This is another Soros DA. Let's just not forget who she is. She's another George Soros DA. And they're willing to put her, like they think the media can paint her in a way that would somehow make sense, or they're just sacrificing her on the altar because they know she can't win and they don't want to have an L under Gavin Newsom or one of their other, you know, people that they like. I mean, that's where we're at. And folks, I mentioned it earlier in the broadcast, chat is working for everyone except Twitter right now. So I apologize to the folks on Twitter. I'm trying to figure out why Twitter doesn't work on here. I had it working at one point in time and then it stopped, and I don't know why. But I can highlight chats from every other network, from Facebook, from Rumble, and from... and if you're on Rumble and you're chatting, put your comment in the live chat, not in the bottom comments. Okay, it goes in the live chat. It's in the upper right. It's to the right of the actual video screen. That's where you have to leave your comments. All right. Let me know where you're from. Let me know, let me know anything. Let me know what you think. Who do you think the next candidate's going to be? Why do you think it took so long for them to come to this conclusion and finally get it out now? Anything, right? So, and at some point in this broadcast, I also want to cover the significance of J.D. Vance as the vice president with respect to convention of states, because he is a signed-on supporter of convention of states, and that could be a very big deal, a very big deal. And I'm going to get into that in just a bit. But with respect to Vivek and his calling out of this, and there have been multiple people who realize, that there's another phase coming, right? Like first he got COVID, and he himself said, right, like in the past, that look, if we come to an impasse, I'll just get a disease, as if like I'm going to make up a disease, and then just friggin' and drop out. And he meant it. And that's just classic Biden saying the quiet part out loud. Do I have that clip? I don't even know if I have.
There's a myth that President Biden's running for president. I think they just put a brain-dead, hollowed-out husk.
Not him. But I might have that clip on hand. And it's where, and you guys have probably seen it. It's where he goes ahead and makes a comment that what is it? Ah, I have it. Okay, hold on.
And like I told Barack, if I reach something where there's a fundamental disagreement we have based on a moral principle, I'll develop some disease and say I have to resign.
Things as we know, but it's like
we haven't.
If you do pay attention to these things, a whole lot less in this world shocks you. You know, a whole lot less makes you think, "Whoa, like really?" Because they say the things out loud. Like they constantly screw up, and it's probably because of all the DEI hires, but in this case it's just because of the fact that Joe is just completely not there.
And like I told Barack, if I reach something where there's a fundamental disagreement we have based on a moral principle, I'll develop some disease and say I have to resign.
I'll it almost sounds like I was making it do that, right? But he came out and said it. Like he's talking about him talking to Barack Obama, saying if we come to an impasse, well, what does that have to do with anything? You're the president of the United States. Of course, it's because he's, any decision he makes, he's thinking back to Obama or people like Obama to try and, to try and get advice, or his handlers. Joey Brown in Detroit, thank you for commenting, sir. Welcome to the broadcast. But this is what, and that's on Facebook. So I'm not seeing the icon here, but that's over on Facebook. Welcome, Joey. So you see that when Biden slips up, he's saying the quiet part out loud. This is not something that they're just reacting to at the last minute. They had no intention of having Joe Biden be like, the whole fact that he was being stubborn and being like, I'm going to run. Like, that's just something they didn't plan for, but they eventually got past, right? Eventually they were able to get enough people to get in his ear and be like, dude, you've got COVID. Oh no, you're getting COVID. And once you get it, you need to drop out. I mean, this was so predictable. And it ain't going to matter. It ain't going to matter when it comes down to it, whether or not, and I just saw someone comment from the group. So there's a Patriot Think Tank group on Facebook. But I will tell you, go to the page and comment there, because I don't think the group post is actually showing up in feed, so I can't highlight chat there. But I saw a box open up on my side window here saying someone commented. So just go ahead and head over to the page and chat there, and you should have no problem getting on. I should have no problem seeing your post. But yeah, so I mean, look, it is what it is, right? Everyone's coming on live today, including myself, to have this conversation. But in the end, like, I look at this conversation, I did a whole episode just on me thinking everything is noise, right? That there's this major battle going on between globalists and American citizens, and the answer to who wins the world is what's going to come of it. And when I say that, I don't mean American citizens are going to win the world. They're just going to save the world. Because if you save the United States, you save the world. If we fall, it's over for everybody. And they have been trying to knock us out for 70 years now, more than that actually, but 70 years of recordable actions by them and statements by them about trying to take us out this way by absorbing our culture. And we are finally turning the corner to the point where people, Yuri Bezmenov said that the mass formation, well, he called it ideological subversion or active measures. Dr. Matthias Desmet calls it mass formation. It's really all the same thing. The end result is that Yuri says it can't be undone once it's done. Like, his attitude was, once they've been in, forget about them. They're programmed. There's nothing you can do. And we've seen now people turning, right? I mean, for the first time in a long time, I'm starting to see more and more young people, and I've said this for a long time. I think Gen Z is going to be like, I think Gen X is going to lead the way, but Gen Z is going to be the one that actually saves us. Like I think Gen X is kind of holding the line, right? And Gen Z will actually be the ones to save us. And I don't think the millennials play much a role in this at all. At least not as a generation at the moment. That could change, and they could start being the ones that turn around and start realizing too. But I think it's Gen Z because they're the youth right now. They're the 18, 19, 20-year-olds that are, you know, just coming into the world and really, really getting hit by where this country is headed. Like, they're the ones that are seeing themselves not have much of a future. They're the ones, even as Gen Xers, as their parents, we're seeing a hard time trying to get them on their feet the way we were able to get on our feet, because just getting that first apartment right now is so ridiculous. And jobs, you know, the jobs just aren't there. Low-level, unskilled jobs just don't. They're not where they used to be. Things are getting automated. The pay is getting too high. Companies don't want it. Like the McDonald's of the world, they got to pay $20 out here in the People's Republic of California. They're not looking to hire people at a very high rate. They're just not looking to do that. I got somebody who commented that my volume is really low. Can anyone else verify that the volume is too low? Because it seems to me on my end to be at a pretty high place. I just tried to raise it a little bit, but I can't go much higher than I'm at. So I'm not sure. I'm not exactly sure why that would be. I mean, it's at the same volume it's always at, and most of my broadcasts come out okay. But I don't know. I'm not sure, but nonetheless. And if you're watching this in the Patriot Think Tank group in Facebook, head over to the page or head over to the Rumble channel if you want to comment and have your comments highlighted, because it has to go through that it has to go through the actual page view in order to see it. So, all right, all right, I got another one saying too low. So I don't know. I'm not sure what would raise the volume here. I've got this thing on 10. I've got my meter on 10, which it shouldn't be, but it is, and it's still not giving me full crank, I guess. So let's see. I don't know. Let me know if it gets any louder now. I'm not sure if it will or won't, but if it sounds louder, let me know. I tried to switch the mic audio and switch it to a different channel. Volume is fine by all. The volume is fine. Okay, so I'm going to leave it where it is then. Thank you, Joel, because every once in a blue I do get someone saying the volume's too low, and I don't know what's making some people's volume too low and other people can hear it. Like, I produce this myself as I go, so it's kind of like, you know, and I appreciate everyone commenting on that, though, because there's nothing worse. Like, there have been times, especially in the early days of this, when I would go live and my audio would be off, and I had no idea, and I would go on babbling until somebody commented, your volume's off, and then I'd have to go and change it. But I don't have a producer, so, like, I don't have a second set of ears out there and whatnot. And it, you know, hearing myself talk would be way too much for me to deal with while trying to, you know, deal with everything else. So, hopefully. So Joel says the volume low may be specific to the app they're working with and their device. It could be. It could be. Norm Sanders, how are you, sir? Says better. Good. Good. So, all right. So we fixed the volume issue. I appreciate that, and I appreciate the engagement from those across platforms. And again, I apologize to those on Twitter for me not being able. And the following on Twitter right now is small enough that I don't expect a ton of comments to be flying through Twitter. But you know, I do like to try and get as many people as possible involved, and that's where, especially with Twitter, because Twitter is what I'm trying to grow. And by the way, I have gotten to, I think it's like 270 right now on Twitter. Let me check that. So Twitter is 276. So we grew a little bit more. 276. We're trying to get to that 300 mark. So, a lot of people I know from the Facebook stats, because that's where the vast majority of the following is, and they're really good about giving stats. I know the overwhelming majority of people that watch, even repeat watchers, don't hit the follow button or the like button. So I am asking to take that simple, easy, free step. Especially on Facebook, I'm up against it with those guys. 18,000, 17,980 followers, whatever. And, my distribution is junk because they hate me and they hate my message. But that's okay. That's okay. That's why we're trying to make the move over to Twitter. Okay, so Daniel is over on Facebook. Gavin Newsom is a pervert pedophile. He's passing bills to let CPS force gender-affirming care in the kids who are prisoners of the state that have committed no crime in CPS cases. Yeah, Daniel, I did a whole freaking... Actually, when my Facebook got monetized, I did 2 videos that month just to test it, and one of them was on CPS, and just a litany of reporting on CPS that I had found. And that was, and it was from places like ABC News, NBC News, but the local affiliates, right? Like your local news. And these things were sitting, like it would be a story about, some girl being offered or advised to go into prostitution by a CPS agent. And the video had like 100 views in like 2 years. And I was like, what the hell? The only reason I found it is because I was looking for it. Right. And then I kept looking and I kept finding all these stories and documentaries and things that were done, about people who have been killed trying to report this stuff, and senators being killed and state senators being killed. And I'm like, what the hell? And I put this compilation together. And it was that first month I got monetized before that's what put me on the map and got me shadow banned forever, probably. But between that and one other video, I made almost $1,000 that month. I was like, holy smokes, dude, this might be something on Facebook, right? I was like, and then that's it. After they cut me that check, I'd be lucky to get 100 impressions for get views. And that's when they really started coming after me on the Facebook side. But I agree with you 100% on CPS, and I agree with you 100% on Gavin Newsom. The guy's a dirtbag. I live here in the People's Republic of California. I know the elections here are a hot mess. I posted up to Facebook when they did the recall on Newsom that I walked into City Hall in my city and literally had a ballot for me and my wife because they mail them to everybody. And I walked into City Hall. Nobody cared that I had 2 ballots. I felt awkward. Pointed it out to the woman behind the counter. Was like, hey, I have two ballots here. I just want to, And she was like, yeah, go ahead. And there was a box at the end of the counter that she was like, just put it in the box. And I'm like, okay, but I have 2. And she was like, yeah, okay. Are they signed? I was like, well, yeah, but you're going to take my word for it? And yeah, they would take my word for it. If I had 10, I could have dropped all 10 in there. Nobody would have known the difference. They would have counted those ballots. I walked out of there and put a post on my personal account saying, with me standing in front of City Hall being like, there's no way Gavin Newsom gets recalled today. And sure enough, he didn't. And I knew right there. When the fact that you could walk into the room with nobody was sitting by the box that people were dropping votes in, nothing. You just go up there, put as many. I could have stuffed the liver. I could have been pulling stuff out of my jacket, out of my shorts. I could have been pulling stuff out of everywhere and sticking it in there. Nobody would have known the damn difference. Like that, the problems here in California, I don't know how to fix. I don't, because it's so. They've done this to the point now where there's not even a decent conservative-minded person running. It's like they've got everything so locked down and fixed that it just makes you feel helpless. It really does when it comes down to it, because they'll never audit these elections. They'll never audit them. I mean, when they call a state with 40 million people in it and they call the state for a candidate after 20 minutes of the polls being closed, you don't need to know any more than that. You don't need to know anymore. Yeah, so Norm's over in Paradise, California. Yeah, I'm in the Riverside County area. And yeah, like it's California's going downhill rapidly. It's gone downhill, right? And a bigger part of the problem is that people are not choosing to fight anymore. They're choosing to leave. And that's, every time an election comes around, it's another problem because there's that every time someone leaves, and there were about 100,000, I think, that left last year. I can tell you almost all of those people are conservatives, who are conservative-minded people, even if they're not political. They're people that would have voted for righteous issues and just decided to leave. And that the problems here are to some degree too great to bear. I'm more concerned about saving the country first, and I feel like once the country is saved, right, and once we start heading, and other states are starting to really prosper, and these sheep in California who have not activated and have not gotten themselves fired up for change, like that, they will turn around and realize, why is everyone else living better than we are? Because truly this state, I mean, I can tell you this, I grew up in New York City, and I spent, some 10 years living in New Jersey, in northern New Jersey, and I can tell you, California, if it were not so badly run, would be, without a doubt, would be no close second as to where the best place in the United States is to live. It is just the difference in landscapes and the variation of it. I mean, I could leave my house in shorts and an hour later be snow tubing. Like that's just, you can't do that anywhere else. So from that standpoint, it should be awesome, and it's not. And that's really Gavin Newsom's fault. Gavin Newsom, Jerry Brown. I mean, they've been beating this place down forever. Even Schwarzenegger was no ball of candy. And they all carry on the same type of, Kamala Harris, and she was the Soros-funded DA, just like Bragg's in. I mean, we did. What's funny is the second episode, and I had Jack on last week or a few days ago for Thursday night. And my apologies for any technical issues that night too, but I had him on, and our second episode ever, we did a deep dive into this DA thing. And this was some 3 years ago. And you could still see it on our YouTube channel. And in that, I actually put in sources and everything for the campaign funding to show that Soros was definitely funding them. Like, I had gone through the trouble of finding each log of each donation and put links to them. And we went all out for that episode. And ever since then, we've been proven nothing but absolutely right. And nobody back then was talking about these Soros DAs. Like, it was me and Jack and a handful of other, unknowns on YouTube. So Paradise is Avery conservative town. They're sending people from somewhere to change it. Things have changed in the last couple of years. Yeah, where I live, it's really conservative, actually. But they redistrict it in such a way. I keep telling people, know your district, know your local legislator. Like, every election cycle, I have to relearn it. That's how often they change it. Like, it's constantly in flux. They are constantly manipulating the lines. Like, there should just be laws saying cities or districts, right? And if it's a massive city, then maybe break it up in quadrants or something like that and say those are and then that's it. That's it. They're in stone. Like, this gerrymandering thing is ridiculous. And they do it here with no shame. No shame at all. And it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Like, how they're continually like the fact that my city, which was all young families when I first moved here some 10 years ago or so, or 15 years ago, when I first moved here, it was all young families coming in because the houses were affordable, and it turned into a really awesome city with really good values, and it's really clean, and everybody takes care of it. It was all being constructed when I moved in, but like, I mean, I can tell you they had a country group play at this big empty lot not far from me, and I wasn't here for it because I was in Vegas at the time with my wife, but I saw on Facebook, I mean, it was a Trump rally. It was a straight out, I mean, they were just Trump 20, at the time it was 2020, but it was Trump 2020 flags all over the place and everybody like that, and then they tell me, oh, well that city voted for... voted for Biden. I'm like, there's just no way. There's no way that happens. But yet here we are. And really, more important, because like I said, it doesn't matter if it's Kamala or Gavin Newsom. What we're running against is a machine. That's what we're up against. And the machine's going to put whatever face it wants in front of on the ticket and expect that the media can carry that face home. That's what they're going. But right now, I see, like I said, and I don't want to use social media posts as a judge, right? But I mean, I must have seen at least 7, 8, 9, 10 different young people explaining why they've been lifelong Democrats and they no longer are. I've seen elderly black women coming out and saying these things. There was one post that I think got really popular. There was an elderly black woman who was watching the RNC and like coming to tears over it. And I was like, that's a bit much. But then again, I'm cynical, for her, this might have been like an oh my God moment. Like, I've never actually watched an RNC convention before, which is a good thing for her. If you're going to watch an RNC convention, this should be the one you want to see first. All right. So, but she was just talking on and on about how she, and people are being honest. And honestly, we have to be, as people who are conservatives who have been on this side for a long time, there can't be any I told you so moments. Like we need to be very careful about having these I told you so moments, right? And it needs to be welcoming. It needs to, welcome aboard. You know what I'm saying? We're all in this fight together. Welcome aboard. Like believe me, they're sorry enough that they didn't know earlier. There's no need. I've seen some conservatives try and like rub it in. It's like, no. You want to chase them back away? Like then that's what you do. But the entire point of what we're trying to accomplish here is unity. It's not diversity, it's unity. And it's one America. It's everybody's love of country. It's everybody's love of their fellow man and law-abiding citizens. It's an upholding of the laws, and we all need to be on the same page with this. So it's important, I think, to get that message out there, because I did see some people in the name, I don't know if they're trying to represent conservatives or what they're doing, but they're kind of just, well, it's about time you figured it out, like, oh, it only took you, 40 years or whatever. It's like, whoa, like everyone acts like they've always been, I was in those bad areas, not as a Democrat, well, really young, maybe like 17, 16. But since college, I've been firmly, even in college, I've been firmly on this conservative philosophy, right? And I still believed, as I grew, I believed George Bush when he said something, right? When he said the Patriot Act, even though people were yelling at me saying this Patriot Act is a disaster, I was like, nope, we need this. How else are we going to catch these terrorists, right? They're going to turn it on you. No, they're not. You're just paranoid. I would never say something like that now. I would never say something like that now. Right? So we grow. And it's important, I think, for people to realize that. I want to talk a little bit about convention estates in the sense of J.D. Vance. So J.D. Vance obviously is the choice for vice president, and I think it was an aggressive choice. Now that I've gotten myself up to speed on J.D. Vance, I really wasn't up to speed. I mean, I've heard of him. I knew a little bit about him, but I didn't really look into him and kind of how he is and, what he does, et cetera. I mean, now, I realize he used to be anti-Trump. Now he's not, et cetera. But like, just what kind of a pick he was. And he is definitely not a pick that somebody makes if they're trying to appease everybody. And I like that. And I think after the assassination attempt, I think Trump was like, F it. I'm going with the guy. I need a bulldog, and I'm going with the guy that I think is going to get it done. I don't care if it's a woman, if he's black, if he's this, if he's that. This is the guy I like, and I'm going for him. And he went for him. And I think from a convention estate standpoint, that's a win. Because if this guy is the leader that people are saying he is, and the fact that he does have the character to pull himself up from his bootstraps and kind of get through his life the way he did. If you don't know his life story, it's an interesting one. Check it out. But the fact that he is the type of guy that he is, and he is a signed on convention estates supporter, I was telling this to my brother the other day. You know, I see convention of states as this enormous boulder on the edge of a cliff. And all we got to do to get this thing going is move it another 15 feet or so. And you might say, but George, we only have 19 out of 34 states. What do you mean 15 feet? Like, we got miles to go. And I say no. Like, what it needs is that, because everybody's on the cusp. The reason it hasn't just shot through the states because the issues are so obvious is because these state legislators don't understand what it is. Like, they just literally don't understand what it is. And I know this because I watch when Convention of States Project, and if you're not following Convention of States Project on either Rumble or YouTube, you're doing yourself a civics disservice. That I can tell you right now. All right? And if you haven't signed the petition for your district, you're doing the nation and everyone a disservice. But when it comes to watching these debates, I'm watching all these floor debates. You know, a couple of years ago, we had 4 states come across all boom, 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 boom. And each one of them, all right, when you listen to the sponsor, in almost every case, the sponsor of the resolution was somebody who was against it. And if you don't know what Article 5 in a Convention of States is, I always just get into it and I forget to kind of explain for people that don't know. So it's Article 5 of our Constitution outlines how you can amend the Constitution. And there are 2 ways that it can be done. One that has been used some 27 times. The other one has not been used ever, but should be. Technically, you could argue the Bill of Rights was because of the threat of a convention, but in the end, it hasn't formally been used from soup to nuts. And that way doesn't involve the federal government. And it's a brilliant, brilliant clause that the founders put into the Constitution because they had a healthy fear of the federal government that they were creating and realized that one day it would grow out of control. But just by the law of nature, one day it would grow out of control. And when it did, we would need safeguards to knock it back in line. And that's what this is. And basically what it allows us to do. So the first clause, you got House, Senate, both 2/3. They write up a proposal they vote 2/3 of the House, 2/3 of the Senate, write up a proposal, approve it, and then send it to the states where 3/4 of the states have to ratify it for it to actually become a part of the Constitution. An enormous mountain to climb that requires significant consensus amongst the states in order for it to become a reality. Well, the other way that they gave was that the states themselves, if 2/3 of the states, instead of 2/3 of the House and the Senate, 2/3 of the states can pass resolutions or petitions to the Congress for the calling of a convention for the purpose of proposing amendments. And once the 34th one, and I say 34 because that's 2/3, once the 34th petition comes in, Congress, according to the Constitution, shall call the convention. Once they call it, Congress is out of the picture. And so is the president, and so is the Supreme Court and everybody else. At that point, the convention's being called, and what will happen as a result, the states will then select delegates. Now, yeah, you got 34 states that signed on, but all 50 participate, right? It's not like only those 34 participate. But they all assign delegates. You can assign as many as you want. And so one state can have 8 delegates, another one 5 delegates, whatever it may be. And those will be the people that will head to this convention on your behalf as a state legislature in a state. And they will discuss, you give them topics, right? And in this case, the topics are term limits, fiscal restraints, and government overreach. All right? Those are the 3 topics that those delegates will get to discuss. And they will put together amendment proposals to the Constitution on those topics. Present the one, and it'll be a simple majority there, 26 votes out of the 50 states, 26 votes, and the proposal will be sent to the states. Each state gets 1 vote. So even if you send 15 delegates, they only get 1 vote on behalf of the state. And Rhode Island gets the same vote that California does. All right, because state sovereignty matters. And again, our constitutional republic is set up to protect the minority, not the majority. So unlike democracy. So once they do that, they get the proposals ready. They send them off to the states. Now the states, 38 states, have to ratify in order for it to become the same way it normally would be. The only difference between the two is that the federal government is not involved in this process to create the proposals. All right, the federal government has nothing to say about what gets proposed. So why would they have this in there? Well, Mason understood 2 days before the actual convention, constitutional convention closed. He realized they had taken this clause out and demanded it be put back in, and basically said, and I'll paraphrase, are we so naive as to think that the federal government would propose any amendment that would restrain its own power if it were to become tyrannical? Everybody agreed. Took me a while to remember this term, but it says 9-com in Madison's notes, meaning unanimous agreement, and they passed it and added the clause back in. That's why it's here. And it's never been used before. One, because it's been attempted a few times, but you've never had 34 states on point with the same topic, okay? And that with the same topics. And that's where we're at now. We've got 19 on, all right? So this is where real change gets made. Because what we're trying to overturn, the structural damage of the federal government, Donald Trump cannot fix. He cannot. He can fire all the deep state people. He can clean out the deep state portion of it, but there's more corruption than that. You've got the insider trading. You've got term limits that need to be implemented. You've got spending that he doesn't have control over. You've got regulatory agencies that he's got limited control over. You've got things like single subject bills that he cannot impose on the Congress, but we can. All right. And all of the problems that we're having, the overwhelming majority of them have not been created by bad presidents and bad Congresses. They've been created and authorized, I should say, by bad Supreme Court decisions. And there's only one way to overturn the Supreme Court, and that way is through constitutional amendment. For those of you who thought the Supreme Court decided that's the final word, it's not the final word. Like in this nation, we truly do have the power. We just haven't been taught civics properly to understand how to wield it. And this is the mission that I'm on, because it doesn't matter if it's Biden or Trump. The deficit, like Trump said in his speech, and it was the one thing that I was like, no, you won't, is he said $36 trillion in debt. We're gonna stop that. No, you're not. Like he's not. He has no control over it. The debt clock has never stopped, folks. Never. Since the day it started, it never stopped. It never turned backwards. It has been forging ahead, and his presidency increased the speed of it from the presidency prior to him. Biden increased the speed of it again, and Obama increased the speed of it over Bush. Each president increases the speed, and it's not because they have bad policies. It's because they have no control over it. Like these are existential issues that have to be addressed in order to save our nation. Now, where does Trump come in? Well, while we're taking care of this, Trump can secure the border. Trump can put us on a level playing field with the Chinese, and we're already on a level playing field. Most of their touted success is paper BS. It's not real. It's all propaganda and nonsense. Every piece of tech they have, they stole. Every single achievement they have, they took from someone else. Their economy is a paper tiger. It's about to fall apart. You don't hear about this stuff because it's not allowed on social media because they control it. But it's true. And there just don't seem to be enough people on X who are looking at China the way they should be. We have one enemy in this nation, one enemy of great importance, and that enemy is the CCP. And everybody is looking at Russia like they're significant. They're not significant. They're just not. The CCP is. So if we want to get these things corrected, we put Trump in place to handle those things. All right, yeah, he can help the job market and stuff. The job market doesn't help the debt. Okay, it's important people understand that. It does not help the debt. The spending that goes on are ridiculous amount of spending. And frankly, when you're voting for your House representatives and senators, you need to focus on that too. That needs to be a top issue because, yeah, we want Republicans in, but let's not forget 100 Republicans voted for this last ridiculous spending bill. Not one or two, 100 of them did. So, like you get people like that in there, it doesn't matter who's president, right? But you get a balanced budget amendment added into the Constitution with real teeth for Congresses that can't keep a budget. Well, now you got something. Now you got something. That's the point, right? And JD Vance is a big supporter of this. Why is that significant? Because JD Vance can turn around if he starts talking from the podium, and you won't hear this immediately, but if he starts talking to the podium directly to the American people and saying, hey, explaining what it is, right, on the national stage, explaining what it is, and getting into the nuts and bolts and why it's so important, and making statements like, we're going to do our job, we need you to do yours. Right? If he can convince, if Trump grows trust in this man, and he can convince Trump, who really doesn't know much about it. That's the take I got. Mark Meckler said, he worded it, I forget how he said it, but he was like, I think he's in support, but I can't put him down as being definitely in support. To me, that means Trump doesn't know what the hell it is, which is whatever. Add him to the laundry list of everyone else who doesn't know what it is. But the fact is, if J.D. Vance can educate him in that way, and J.D. Vance can get him up to speed in that way, that could be enormous. Can you imagine if Donald Trump got on a podium and gave a speech saying, you want to talk about having an impact on this nation that will be talked about 250 years from now? That would be it. Like, everything else he's accomplished would be forgotten if a successful convention gets off and fiscal restraints and regulatory agencies get shut down or defanged and term limits are imposed on Congress. The first convention of states for the purpose of proposing amendments is going to go, if it's immensely successful, especially, will go down in history as an absolute 1776 event. And Donald Trump has an opportunity to lead that if he understands it and can get behind it. Because he's not the only one that needs to get work done. We are as well. And the fact of the matter is, if we do that successfully, there is nothing, the entire relationship between the federal government and the people of the United States will be changed forever, forevermore. If they want to do nationalized health care and they have a majority of the public that are against it, all of a sudden you're going to start seeing states. They're not going to be able to just pass it and they'll read it after they pass it, kind of crap, like Pelosi said. And then Obama gets on the stage and starts talking about how the American people wanted it. Because what's going to happen is they're going to get close to proposing it, and then all of a sudden you're going to hear one state has signed a petition. 2 states have sent in a petition. 5 states, 10 states have sent in a petition. 15, 20 states have sent in a petition. All of a sudden, it won't get to 34 because they'll just scrap the whole damn thing right away. That's power. That's power that we've never wielded before in our lives, okay? We can overturn the 16th Amendment, all right? And as it never was constitutional before the 16th Amendment, it's not constitutional. Well, it is constitutional after it because there was an amendment, but it's one that can be struck down and bring the Constitution back to where it originally was intended, to consumer tax only, tariffs. The idea of taxing people's income to control the population is absolutely disgusting and is absolutely at its heart un-American. And we can make that go away. Like, those are things that I want from this. I'll take the term limits, fiscal restraints, and government overreach. But when it comes to fiscal restraints, income tax is one of them for me. Another big one is single subject amendment. You're going to write a bill? It needs to be on one subject. You want to give $200 million to lizards on treadmill? That's fine. Go ahead and sign the lizards on treadmill bill. Because no one will put their name on that. But they'll put their name on a veterans bill that has $200 million for lizards on treadmill research underneath it. You follow me? These are the things that are going to actually fix the nation from the inside. Jobs reports are not going to fix the nation. We're going to be up against AI, whether we like it or not. There is no stopping AI. But we can put in protections directly into the Constitution to make the abuse of AI completely illegal. And it may not stop bad actors from trying to do things, but it will stop the government from trying to do things. Or at least put in serious consequences if they do try. Like these are things that we can absolutely put into play that we have to be aware of, number one, and we have to understand the process, number two. And if you want to understand that process, you go to conventionestates.com. There's a link right on my website, right on the front page, that'll take you right to the petition to sign. And again, this is all local. So when you sign it, you're going to get somebody in your district, in your congressional district, which means in your neighborhood, that reaches out to you. And they'll tell you, look, here's what we need. Here's how you can help. Oh, I don't have any time. Okay, well, maybe you have some money to donate. Well, I don't have any money. Well, maybe you have some time to donate. Well, I don't have any money or time. All right, maybe you have a skill that you could donate and maybe help, with video editing or help with social media warriors. Like they have people that, there are folks that just their contribution is to go online and help educate people on convention estates. Get on Facebook, get on Twitter, get on these social media platforms and educate. There's a million ways you can help. And honestly, even imagine 1 million people were able to put in 15 minutes a month into helping out. That's 15 million minutes. 15 million minutes. I didn't do the math, but that's a lot of hours. Like the idea here is to crowdsource this, right? Like any other movement that's going to take place. We crowdsource. And this is how we do it. This is how we do it, right? And J.D. Vance can be a big play in helping us get there. So I'm hoping, right? I'm hoping that he takes this seriously and that, hopefully Meckler can get his ear, right? Or any of these guys, right? Anybody in there can get his ear and be able to have this conversation with him to try and put together a joint effort between the American people and the presidency, right, to try and take this country back. Because if we're hitting them from both ends, Marxism cannot survive in a world with term limits, fiscal restraints, and government overreach amendments being implemented. In particular with the fiscal restraints. And the idea, that we would be living under the premise of the federal government constantly being worried about what power the states will take away from it. Like right now, we could put in an amendment that authorizes states to defend their own borders and even requires the federal government assist in any way possible. Like we could do that under the current topics. But if we later on, if the border becomes an issue again, we can call a convention specifically on that topic. Like it's powerful, folks. It's powerful. And again, J.D. Vance, he could be our ticket. He could be the guy that really, sparks this and gets it going, without additional issues. Well, where am I at here? I got so many damn windows here. It is, there we go. So I mean, that's just my take on it, right? That's what I think. I'm hoping that J.D. Vance takes the lead on this, and that's that. And back to Biden, right? He's gone. He's out. We're not shocked. I don't want to make too much of a hoopla about it. I don't think anybody believed he was going to stay in, and even though he was saying he's going to stay in, and the reality is they've jacked the Democrat voter again. First it was Bernie Sanders, where they wouldn't let him in because they wanted Hillary. Now they're, Biden. You hear the voters saying they still want Biden, as beat up as he is, but they ain't going to allow that. They're going to bring in Kamala and let her embarrass herself, and not burden herself with the past, right, or whatever the heck she was, not be burdened by past events, but seeing future events, right, knowing what could be. I mean, it's just amazing to me how thin the bench is for the Democratic Party. It is truly thin. And it's, they've got nothing. They've got nothing. And one by one, the people that they've mass formated are beginning to wake up. As people come to the realization that, yes, it is possible that there has been a plotted effort for 60 years to overtake our culture, break up our families, remove people from the church. As people start to realize those realities, well, they'll start to come back to the church. They'll start to focus on family, right? They'll start, we'll start looking at our kids again and be like, well, when they say, well, what do you want for your children? I want them to have a great career will not be the number one goal. That I want them to fall in love and have a family will be the number one goal. Then I want them to have a great career and everything else. And which is how we should have always been thinking, but it's not how we do think, but it's coming back. People are starting to realize it now, that those are American values and those are priorities, and America is good. America is a good thing. The American people are good. And all this hatred and talk, all this stuff taught in schools about how evil we are, and never bringing up how awesome we are, those days are going to end. Because these kids are going to start getting taught in the home before they get to these indoctrination centers. So when they're going to be warned about the crap they're going to learn. It's not like people at home are not going to teach them the bad stuff. We'll tell them all about slavery. We'll tell them all about it. We'll also tell them how we overcame it and how it's no longer an issue. So when they try to act like it's happening in current America, the kids will know already. My mom told me you were going to start to feed me that BS. That's the type of culture we're going to have going until a point where these teachers just don't, the bad teachers just don't want to teach anymore. And we'll be left with the good ones. Right? That's how it needs to be. So let me just do a quick run here through the different pages so I can see where everybody's at here. I have the X. I don't expect that many comments from, so it's okay with X. But we're growing, man. We're growing, and the fact is, we're growing on it. I'm growing on that. I keep saying we like I got a mouse in my pocket. It's just me, all right? It's just me. But in the end, that's I'm gonna have to be enough. And so, as far as X is concerned, yeah, we got some views on X, but not a ton, but that's fine. The following there is only 270 people. And the thing about X is, organically, they don't give you great distribution until you start showing a good follow. You got to kind of make your bones and earn that. And since, even though I signed up for X back in 2021, I never used Twitter ever until a few months back. And now I've made this conscious effort. Same thing with Rumble, right? I got like 700 followers on Rumble, 695, whatever. But it's, again, these are the channels I want to grow, right? So I can stop. I mean, having 18,000 on Facebook, it doesn't do me any good. I literally do live videos and get 56 impressions. If you don't know what an impression is, that's how many people they actually put it in front of. Like how many people scrolled in their feed and saw it? 56 out of 18,000 followers. It's just absolutely ridiculous. But nonetheless, it is what it is. Let me see this here. Just double check my group. All right. So looks like we're good. All right, folks. So I just wanted to come on and say that I don't, if anyone's got a last lick of a comment to make it now, because I'm going to be dialing out in just a minute. But I will be coming on Thursday again. I'll probably be giving it I might try and give it another shot with Jack if he's available. And for those of you who don't know, Jack and I started the channel some 3 years ago, but he's been off it for years. But he came back on Thursday to do an episode. So I don't think he's coming back, full time. But he may come back for episodes now and then. I can grab him when he's available to get him on. But thank you to Norm, Joel, Mike, Karen, Kathy, the rest of you who left comments and engaged in the broadcast. I will see you all next Thursday. Until then, be free, folks.